Hello, my name is HQ of HQ Reacts. Welcome to my channel. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button, share the stream, and click the notification button for new content.
Hello, everybody. It's been a long, it has been a long week. It has been one of the most weird and most consequential weeks this country has ever experienced. This has been the week. And most people are going to look back at the second week and the third week in November of 2025 and say these have been the most consequential weeks of this president's presidency, of our country, of our turning point, our tipping point in this United States. Many things happened this week on top of immigration, Epstein, degrees, education, sedition, Miss Piggy, gerrymandering, a blowout election. All of these things happened this week under this one particular president. You know, no, through definitely fault of his. This is definitely a this is definitely one of those things where this president orchestrated all of this confusion and this heartbreak. We started our week out with a blowout election. We started that out with the shutdown of the government. The Democrats shut the government down and then reneged on the promise of what they shut it down for. Republicans got blamed for it. All of this happened under this presidency. But we're going to start with the one thing.
Some breaking news. Several sources tell MS Now the House Oversight Committee believes there's been a, quote, intense White House cover-up on the Jeffrey Epstein files. The sources acknowledge that Attorney General Pam Bondi's new investigation into Epstein's ties to Democratic politicians could be, quote, weaponized, and as Democrats have been suggesting, used to redact or withhold documents.
He is going to get impeached, and here's why. Donald Trump is definitely going to be impeached and convicted. And the main reason is Congress just told us the other day, the full Senate and the full House, except one guy, they all voted in favor of releasing the Epstein files. The Senate even voted by unanimous consent, meaning they didn't even vote. They read what the House had passed, and they said, yeah, if you guys pass this, we will automatically pass it. I mean, it's that strong, the entire Congress. So Congress is telling all of us, we will not tolerate PDFs. We will not tolerate men who take advantage of underage women. And so he's going to be impeached and convicted for really one of two reasons. One, if they don't release the files fully, then they're hiding stuff. And we already know he's in there because he has fought tooth and nail to not have.
No, I eat grass, just like you eat charcoal. Why are we worried about whether I eat laundry detergent or not? Toaster.
Those files released. So if they release them partially, or they say, oh, there's an investigation, we can't release them right now, Congress is going to say, no, we will not tolerate this. They told us the other day with their vote. When was the last time you saw Republicans and Democrats basically 100% agree across the boards on something like this? They want those files. And if he's in those files like we know he is, he's done. They're going to be like, we can't have a president who did this. We can't have a PDF president. And if he doesn't release the files fully, or they heavily redact them and turn them into like a big nothing sandwich, Congress will say, no, that's not going to fly. And do you really think there's only one copy out there? There are courts who have copies. There are other people and entities who have full copies of them. So plenty of people have already seen this stuff, and it's leaking out how bad it is. Apparently lately, they're saying there are photos. So he is done. Donald Trump is going to be impeached by this Congress.
Well, here's the thing, Carl, you toaster, you. The difference between Democrats and Republicans is we're not going to cover for pedophiles. Not at all. We're not going to cover for rich dudes. Not at all. That's something you maggots have been doing lately. We're not going to do that. So if Bill Clinton is in the files, he's going down just like your president is going down. Now, how about those apples?
And really, this is their opportunity to finally cut themselves away from him, because they've really all been held prisoner. All those GOP senators and House members, they're not into him, but they want their careers. And he basically held them prisoner. And this is their opportunity to get rid of him, and they're going to do it. I'm convinced of it, but I want to know what you think. So please.
Well, I think, my friend, is that they want Donald Trump's goofy base, the goofy base called MAGA. So they're not going to turn on their beloved puppet. They're not going to turn on their Orange King, because otherwise they would have done it. This is the only thing that you have seen the Democrats and the Republicans agree on, releasing the files. But does that mean that they're going to turn on him? I don't think so, because they're too afraid of the base. They don't care about the American people. They care about lining their pockets. As long as they can line their pockets with the American people's money, they're not going to turn on Donald Trump. So this is where we're at.
Please like and share this, but more importantly, make a comment and just tell me, do you agree with me or not?
We have some major news right now. I just received a statement from over 20 Epstein survivors who say that they have received death threats and are demanding the release of all the files. The statement is titled "What We're Bracing For," and it says, "Thanks to brave supporters in Congress and in the public, we have won one victory, the passage of the bill to release the Epstein files. But we know the battle is far from over. As we approach the release of the files, here is what we're bracing for. The first is attempts to blame the victims for our own or each other's abuse. The second is incomplete disclosures. They say, other than redacting victim names, we want all the files disclosed. Third, threats to our physical safety. They say many have already received death threats and other threats of harm, and that they're bracing for those to escalate. And then
they've already said that they're going to try to redact Donald Trump's name. We already know that Donald Trump is in the files. That's just a fact. He's in the files, and they're cleaning the files as we speak. So while they're cleaning the files, they have 30 days in order to release them. So let's see what is redacted and what's not when they come out.
Fourth is efforts by bad actors to essentially pull.
He didn't release them for a reason, James Drummond. Please do math. Please do research. Please act like you have a higher IQ than 70. They were under investigation, and so they respected the investigation. Please do that.
These survivors apart from one another, and they say we stand together resolutely against any attempt to divide us. And then it's signed by about 25, 26 survivors, as you can see here. Please help spread this everywhere. Their voices need to continue to be uplifted no matter what, and I'll provide you more updates soon, so follow for more.
So this is the worst email so far that I have read in the Epstein files, and I'm going to read it to you, but I'm warning you, when I first read this email, I legitimately felt sick to my stomach. Like I'm still having a physiological.
At this particular point, any person that believes that Trump is not in the files is a tard. You're just a tard. We're going to put you in the corner like a tard. Yes. Yeah, a bozo. That I believe. I absolutely agree with you, Stone. Any person in the chat that says that Trump is not in the files is a tard and a bozo.
Reaction from it. So this is from Tom Barrack to Jeffrey Epstein. And if you don't know who Tom Barrack is, he is a close friend and fundraiser to Donald Trump. He was the senior advisor to Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, and he is currently Trump's ambassador to Turkey. He is in this inner circle. So this is what the email says. And again, I am warning you, it is I just can't believe this is happening, to be honest. Epstein, hope you are well. Photos look good. FYI, I receive many calls a week about both Donald, redacted, Marla, beauty contest, Mar-a-Lago, etc., and Clinton from reporters.
You should be reading the Epstein emails for yourself, and I'm going to tell you how to find them so you can read them for yourself. I'm a lawyer in real life. I don't play one on television. When I heard this morning about the 3 emails that were released by the Democrats, I immediately wanted to find the original documents. I don't like being told information by the media or anyone else. If I can see the source document, that's where I'm going to go. And that's what I did this morning. And when you read these documents, you will realize that for a very long time, there was a relationship between Trump and Epstein. And in the 3 emails that the Democrats released, in one, Epstein mentions, and this is going back to 2011, that Trump had not yet been mentioned, but he has spent a lot of time alone with one of the victims. And Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend or whatever she was, she says, I thought about that. So these are private emails between the 2 of them. They weren't expecting anyone else to see them. And also, but I want you all to know that Trump is mentioned in more than just these 3 emails. So I also went to the Republican website where they released over 20,000 pages of documents related to the Epstein.
To the oversighthouse.gov. Go to the oversighthouse.gov and see the 20,000 pages released by the Republicans. So the Republicans also released a bunch of emails. But those are just everyday, I guess maybe everyday emails. I don't know whether there's explosions in those or not. I have no idea. I haven't went and I haven't looked at the file. I haven't read through the file. I've seen a couple of them, but I haven't read through them because I don't care enough about them. I've heard enough to know that he's probably in those files, so I don't care. So you can go to oversight.house.gov and get the rest of the emails.
Files. And I just randomly opened some of the documents and I found information about Trump. Just randomly going through, there's information about Trump. And I'm going to put here on the screen one of the emails that I found about Trump. And I don't know exactly what this means, but it was some type of alert for Epstein's name on Google. And it talked about some type of tapes involving PP tapes and Russian hookers. So I don't know what it means, but I think it's really interesting that Trump is mentioned throughout the Epstein files, just not 1 or 2 emails. I also found other references to Trump by just randomly opening the emails. But you need to go see this for yourself. And now that we have more information, I really want to know from all those people who say they are defenders of children, they want to fight against PDFs, they want to stop trafficking. What do you have to say now? What do you think now that you've seen some of these emails where Trump is just mentioned throughout in regards to Epstein? Please, please let us know in the comments.
But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there whether we can see the emails or not. The whole point is, will those emails be released? This is just a pattern of behavior and incidents that have occurred throughout this president's tenure. We wake up every day and there's something different, something new, something more scandalous, one way or the other. We may never know what's in those files, but some people do know what are in those files. Some of the victims have been threatened. Who cares what was in those files? We don't need to know what is more interested in those, what's more in those files. The only thing we need to know is Donald Trump was friends with this person, and this person abused children. And he knew about those children being abused. We don't need to know anything more. I don't need to know whether Donald abused any children or not. I don't need to know any of those things. What we do know is you had a friend who abused children and you knew that he abused children. This is what we do know.
Oh, you guys, this is not name dropping, but boy, is it clue dropping. Never thought I'd be saying thank you, Thomas Massey, but thank you, Thomas Massey. This is what is in the Epstein files. They've seen it. Thomas Massey has seen it. And this is the information he's giving about them. So Jeff Shaley, the CEO of Barclays Bank, that's the only one mentioned by name. A Hollywood producer who is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. A royal prince, shout out Andy. A very high-profile individual in the music industry. Another very prominent banker. A very high-profile government individual. Hey, chump. A very high-profile former politician. Hey, Bill. The owner of a car company that you would know in Italy. One big rock star, one well-known magician, and at least 6 billionaires. And that's not an exhaustive list. That's just what he pulled out of his butt this morning. So if dipshit tries to hide behind this sham investigation of something that's been investigated ad nauseum, where he can't release the files, I believe Republicans will talk. The Republicans who have seen what's in those files will speak up.
The Republicans have proven themselves to be cowards. They have proven themselves to not concern themselves regarding the American public. They're calling for the files. They're calling for the release of the files. And it's neither here nor there whether they're released or not. The whole point is, are they willing to do what is necessary? But they're not willing to do what's necessary. They know that their leader, they know that Trump is evil. They know that Trump is compromised. They know all of these things. They are protecting him. That is the problem, and that's why the Republicans can't be trusted, because they are protecting him. They know what's in the file. They have an idea. They have a clue, but they're protecting him.
The dam is breaking.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Yeah, answer that question, Mr. Epstein. Answer that question, Mr. Epstein.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Of course he's not going to answer the question. Of course. The files were under investigation. Eagle, Go Media, Genius. They were under investigation. That's why they never came out. And I think Biden had a little bit more fish to fry. I think he had more important things on his mind, like trying to get inflation down, than worrying about exposing Donald Trump. Because we all thought that was the end of Donald Trump. Nobody thought anything twice about trying to expose Donald Trump. We thought he was kicked to the dustbin of history until yahoos put him back in the White House. So we had no idea that he would bring himself back. The investigation for the Epstein files was over in 2023. So in 2023, I think 2022 or 23, the investigation was over. But that's only the one thing that happened this week. The release of the Epstein files. That was the only thing that happened this week. What else happened this week? What else happened this week?
Not just about women. It's not.
Man, hold on.
What's even more insulting than the Department of Education deciding to reclassify these degree tracks and professions as non-professional is the fact that there are people out here trying to convince me, someone with one of those degrees that's now considered non-professional, that there's nothing for me to worry about unless I'm trying to get a student loan and get forgiveness for that student loan from the federal government. If willful simplification of this issue is what it takes for you to justify this administration devaluing women-dominated professions, then I already know you don't value women in the workforce. And I also know that you already don't value these fields in general.
This is what occurred this week. They downgraded professional degrees so that they wouldn't have to pay out as much student loan money for these degrees, and that they were female professions. So now they're not considered professional degrees. They're just considered degrees. It's a devaluation of women. That also occurred this week.
Else on that list you think is perfectly fine to devalue those professions, because it also shows me that you're already not concerned about the ever-growing teacher shortage and nursing shortage, that which will definitely grow even worse with this policy. For reasons that I shouldn't even have to explain, because we know how men in the workforce operate. Let's take, for example, educational administration, because that's what my professional degree is in. If you say that that field is no longer considered a professional degree, not only are you going to deter people from seeking that degree and going into that field, but you're also going to make people leave those professions. If men realize that they no longer are considered a professional in a field, they are more likely, unfortunately, to leave that field than their women counterparts. Education professionals that are leaders in the field leaving because they don't feel valued anymore. And a man will hightail it the minute he doesn't feel valued. As soon as you start to see men leaving those professions in droves because they can no longer get student loan forgiveness, they no longer feel valued, suddenly society and the government start treating those professions
The Trump administration just downgraded a whole bunch of degrees from professional to just regular, ordinary degrees. Instead of being professional degrees, they're ordinary, everyday degrees, which means you can't get enough student loan money in order to pay for the degree. You can't get paid professionally like you're supposed to, seeing as how it's not a professional degree anymore. That's a major, major backpedal for women in the workforce these days. That's what's wrong with this. And that happened this week.
even worse. What's the incentive for men in the government to treat these professions with respect when men are...
And then I don't think I'm not going to take your I'm not going to take your word for what is pointless and what's not respect. You don't make those determinations. You all hit the like button and the share button, please. Subscribe to the channel. We have this conversation and this kind of content every day, please.
Aren't working in those professions anymore. This is the government's very thinly veiled attempts to keep people from going to school and getting educated. This is a very thinly veiled attempt at them to keep women at home. They're a very thinly veiled attempt to keep people in generational poverty. And frankly, the fact that I'm still having...
They're not teachers' degrees, Black America. They're nurses.
To try and explain this to some people as if it's a new concept in 2025 is the most frustrating part of all. And I just want to say for the record that if you're in one of these professions, just because Linda McMahon and Donald Trump no longer consider you a professional in the workforce, that doesn't devalue the work that you've already put into this. and the amount of lives that you've changed by the good work that you've done in your field. There would be no surgeons or chiropractors or theologians if not for teachers. Doctors would not be able to do the work that they do if not for nurses. That crotchety old bitch, Linda McMahon, couldn't even conceptualize the amount of hours that you put into earning a degree and the amount of hours you put into professional projects and time spent at your job helping people. She couldn't even conceptualize what you've done with your life. Linda McMahon and Donald Trump have never worked that hard for something a day in their life, and they've never cared that much about helping people and making the world a better place a day in their life. They don't want to pay you for your time. They don't want to value you as a professional. Fuck them. They're
Yeah. So you just got thrown off the wagon.
Most people have heard the word.
We went through a crisis of gerrymandering, did we? Gerrymandering where they tried to take voting rights away from people.
Gerrymandering once.
Let's see.
Exactly is gerrymandering. Essentially, it's the process of giving one political party an advantage over another political party by redrawing district lines. It's like Democrats trying to gain an advantage over Republicans, or Republicans trying to gain an advantage over Democrats. You see, each party wants to gain as many districts as possible so they can do things like control the state budget or set themselves up to win even more districts in the future. So, to understand how this process began and how it continues today, we must go back to 1812 in Massachusetts. Elbridge Gerry, the governor of Massachusetts, supported and signed a bill to allow redistricting. That is, redrawing the boundaries that separate districts. The catch? The new lines would favor Gerry's own political party.
It's legalized cheating. And if we continue down this road as we have for the last 200 years, the only thing left is to take away the vote altogether.
Yo, this little gerrymandering war that Republicans want to do, it's not going to work out for them. The reason is they've already gerrymandered as much as they possibly can. Their districts are not much more gerrymanderable. Their gerrymanderability is less than the Democratic Party's. So, okay, Texas says they want to redraw their map and make it all red. That could benefit them 3 to 5 seats. But California says, okay, fine, if you do that, we'll redistrict, and that could net 6 to 7 seats. If they go, for sure, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina will all redraw their maps, redistrict, gerrymander, but they've already been doing that. There's really only a potential for them to gain like 1, maybe 2 more seats. New York State has much more room to grow as far as gerrymandering. So the Democratic potential for our gerrymanderability is higher than the Republican Party. This is all bad for our democracy. We should not have a Congress coming out of states that are all blue or all red, but here we go.
Yes. Please explain, long bones, that the budget has only been balanced when Democrats go into office. The economy has only been good under Democrats. It's been the best that it's ever been under Democrats. Only. The Republican we've only ever picked up and had to straighten out after a Republican was in office. That's the problem. Now we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of gerrymandering, and now the Republicans want to keep a majority? I don't think so.
We have massive breaking news right now. A Trump-appointed judge in Texas just blocked the gerrymandered maps passed by Republicans in Texas earlier this year. A absolutely stunning ruling. And now Texas Republicans will have to use their 2021 maps, which were not gerrymandered to the extent that these new 2025 maps are, which means that while California allowed Democrats to pick up 5 seats in the House, at least as it currently stands, Texas will not allow Republicans to pick up their 5 seats. Judge Jerry Brown, who is a Trump appointee, just ruled minutes ago that he will be preliminarily enjoining the state from using the 2025 maps, requiring them to use the 2021 maps in the next 2026 midterm election. Folks, This is a bombshell, absolute bombshell, and a huge loss for Republicans right now. I will provide you more updates as we get more information. Spread the word, subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio, and follow along to stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about.
Republicans in Texas just suffered a massive loss when it comes to gerrymandering. As you know, at the urging of Trump earlier this year, Texas tried to steal 5 House seats from Democrats. Well, a panel of 3 judges just ruled that it's likely unconstitutional, and guess what? The judge who wrote the opinion, Judge Jerry Brown, was actually appointed by Trump, and he said that it was race-based illegal gerrymandering.
Right.
Boy,
and then I think they reversed that decision today. They reversed the decision today, which really basically is a wash because the California and New York maps just burn them up. So it's almost like a wash. So it is what it is. I don't even understand what, but see, it makes no difference because the Democrats currently have a outlier poll of 14 percentage points lead. So basically the Democrats right now have about maybe an 7 or 8 point lead in the polls from the Republicans. And seeing as how the trend is not going to change anytime soon, the trend is not going to change anytime soon because Donald Trump alienated Latinos and he alienated independents. Seeing as how he did that, and he's hemorrhaging Republicans, that trend is really not going to change. So it's going to either be a normal, regular wave in which Democrats win 30, 40 seats and they don't get the Senate, or it's going to be a massive wipeout. It's going to be a massive wipeout and they're going to get the Senate and the House. But we don't know that right now. But see, let's go on to the things that happened this week. Let's continue, shall we?
Last Friday, as everybody knows by now because it's been all over the internet for a week, Donald Trump told a Bloomberg News reporter, quiet, piggy. And of course, the reporter was asking a simple question about, some of the Epstein emails that had come out last week. A very topical question, a very important question that the public definitely wanted answers to. The reporter was not rude. The reporter was not in his face. The reporter didn't approach him. Trump was on Air Force One, going into the room as he always does, taking questions because he loves it. And he snapped at her because she asked a question that he didn't like. He didn't want to talk about Epstein. But just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean that, you get to avoid it completely, buddy.
Right. And here we are with her. Here we are with our Secretary of State. No, here we are with our morning meeting with that lying back. I can't even.
News has you covered.
This lady right here.
Frankness, and he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration.
This president is embarrassing. He's embarrassing.
But especially a man whose pant size is 3 fucking digits long. I genuinely feel that if someone pisses you off and the worst insult you can give back to them is about their weight, you're lazy. That's boring. Like, listen, I can sit here and be like, oh yeah, the orange man needs to lose a few lbs and maybe he wouldn't have kinkles. I could say that, but that's like low-hanging fruit. It's so much better to make fun of his bad blending job when he puts on his spray tan. Like, I've seen better blending from a first-time drag queen. Why would we make fun of his weight when we can make fun of his rad-ass toupee? Or the fact that he's married to a wife who clearly hates him. Or that the only reason why he's a Republican now is because Democrats left a bad taste in his mouth. Or he's Bill Clinton did. It's just wild to me that I have to live in a timeline, right, where the President of the United States calls a reporter piggy and there's no repercussions of this, right? Like,
no repercussions. Why the hell are we living in a timeline where the president gets to call a reporter piggy and there's no backlash for it? None. But you know what? Our girl, the girl who got called piggy, you all hit the like and share and subscribe button. Hit the like button, subscribe button. Everybody knows what it is when you come over here. When you come over here and you go to YouTube, there's a subscribe button and a like button. Please hit the subscribe and the like button. Please and thank you. We do this content every night. We get all kinds of news. So we have a good time over here. Hit the like and the share and the subscribe. Here's the reporter that got called Miss Piggy.
Do we have an HR fucking department or something?
I'm Mary Bruce, and I will make Trump pay for his insulting remarks. To be honest, when Trump uttered the words, "Quiet down, little pig," I was completely stunned. It was beyond ridiculous. As a journalist who has worked in the industry for 15 years, I've faced countless sharp criticisms, but I never expected that simply trying to share the truth would lead to insults from the president. This wasn't just a simple rebuttal, it was an assault on my professional identity, a blatant disrespect for women. But silence is not an option for me. Yielding would only encourage more arrogance and rudeness. I will now compile the full audio and video recordings of the interview and, together with my colleagues in the journalism industry, submit a formal complaint to media ethics organizations. I want the public to see how Trump uses insulting language to demean reporters, how he undermines the very foundation of press freedom. Trump must apologize for his remarks. He must publicly acknowledge that his behavior was wrong. And I will make sure Trump understands that any attempt to belittle others in order to deflect from the real issues will only cause him to lose even more trust in the eyes of the public.
She ain't playing with his ass. She ain't playing with his ass. That happened earlier this week. What president says that to a person? What president says that to another human being? Okay? What president would do that in the public eye? In the public eye, and think it was okay to say it.
Aboard Air Force One. Quiet. Yep, he really did call a female reporter Air Force One. Quiet. Yep, he really did. Quiet. Yep, he really did. Air Force One. Quiet.
What's going on? This is embarrassing. It's beyond embarrassing. I think it's time. We have been tipped over the edge. It's embarrassing. This is embarrassing. Now, let's move on to the weird shit that we had happen right now. Hold on. Let me pull it up, shall we?
What they did was despicable. I don't agree with the president. They should be put in jail. But I do believe what they did was despicable, and they need to explain themselves.
He endured too far, saying punishable by
I think
death?
they went too far. Well, yeah, I think that's over the top. But the point you're missing here is you had 6 members of Congress openly encourage members of the military to disobey orders of this president without giving an example of order that is illegal. I think they're despicable.
But he also endorsed a call to hang them, the members of Congress. I mean, what do you make of that? Is that too far?
Yes. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham offering a little bit of pushback to President Trump's suggestion that some Democrats should be executed after accusing them of sedition.
For telling them not to commit illegal acts.
Yeah.
Think about this.
This is wild. And then you have a president who gets
urge current disobey. Melissa Slotkin, a former CIA analyst, posted the video. The lawmakers say threats to the Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army, or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution, and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Slotkin told the New York Times that she's heard from active duty troops who
Right. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Your loyalty as a soldier is to the Republic of the United States. It's not a loyalty to a president. And this president went too far today. It's
The
embarrassing.
president is suggesting that members of Congress should be hung because they're just telling American troops, don't commit illegal acts. But Lindsay knows better. These Republicans on Capitol Hill know better. Saying, like, getting angry at anybody for telling troops don't commit illegal acts. It's just nonsensical. And then Donald Trump, because he's trying to distract from the Epstein files, he's trying to distract from the fact that he has the lowest approval rating that he's had in the second term. He's trying to distract from the fact that Democrats have the largest generic ballot lead that I can remember in my lifetime, 54-41. He's trying to distract from the fact that only 1 in 3 Americans say that they think Donald Trump is handling the government the right way. You can go on and on and on. But again, go back to the Epstein file.
Being obedient. In addition, in Vietnam, there was a whole debate about carrying out illegal orders after the My Lai massacre. That's when a bunch of U.S. soldiers massacred hundreds of innocent Vietnamese civilians. And their defense, again, carrying out orders, and Lieutenant Calley was convicted. That was not a defense. There was a similar debate after the Kent State shootings in 1970, when National Guardsmen shot some student protesters protesting the Vietnam War, and there was a whole debate about whether or not they had been told to fire. And in fact, a Vietnam veteran friend of mine just sent me a booklet. He's a former Marine, a booklet that he got as a Marine after My Lai.
See, that's the thing. It's not an unlawful order.
Defending it and upholding that sacred obligation. It's very telling that President Trump and those around him think it's criminal simply for asking people to follow the law. This moment requires moral clarity. Every American, regardless of your background, should unite and reject his calls for political violence. This is a moment that requires leadership. I intend to uphold my obligation, my oath, and to lead. Don't give up the ship.
Hey folks, Donald Trump called for my execution. Now, I served 25 years in the United States Navy. I flew 39 combat missions. I flew into space 4 times. Never once did I expect that at some point the President of the United States was going to threaten me with being hanged because of something I said. Folks, we have a Constitution. We have First Amendment constitutional rights of free speech. I know a little bit about political violence. My wife, Gabby, was nearly assassinated. She was shot in the head because of political violence. She nearly died. These are the kind of threats that this president makes, not just to me, some of my colleagues as well. Just this week, he did this. Threatened our lives, said we should be hanged because of something we said. This is dangerous, and this kind of rhetoric, especially from a president of the United States, makes us all less safe. Folks, if you can, speak out about this. It's dangerous talk from a president who doesn't really seem to get it, doesn't understand his responsibilities under the Constitution. And I gotta say, this was a rather disturbing thing for him to do.
The President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This, as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post. Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are at a very dangerous moment right now. The President is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence in this country. This is a very slippery slope that we are on. This is a moment for people to step up, for Republicans to step up, for business leaders to.
And he keeps saying Republican to step up, but the Republicans are cowards. They don't ever know how to govern. They don't ever know how to govern. They don't ever know how to rule a land as big and diverse as this. They never do. They never do. That's the problem. Because otherwise he would have been impeached or taken out with the 25th Amendment by now. This is the problem.
To step up. Anybody who has a voice or a soapbox in this country needs to draw a line in the sand and say that it is not
no, because here's the thing.
Acceptable for the President of the United States to call on the murder of his political opposition.
See, here's the thing. We are here. We are here in this moment because of one thing. We are here in this moment because of one thing. Okay? Donald Trump's grievance and Donald Trump's privilege. And I've said this before. All of these events, all of these things occurred this week. All of these things occurred this week. What was it? We get the university. We get sedition. We get Miss Piggy. We get university. We get Mondami. We get all of these things. All of these things occurred because we have this particular president who came down the escalator one just easy peasy breezy day and started denigrating immigrants in this country. And for some reason, he tapped into that aggrieved side of the country, the aggrieved white male side of the country. A born rich, wealthy, protected by family connections, insulated from consequences, handed all of the opportunities that most people could ever dream about, and he was aggrieved. In this United States, a wealthy white man like Donald Trump, especially one with generational money, especially, means you move through the world with doors already open for you. This is why I couldn't understand the white victimhood, how the white male could be looking at an immigrant and saying, I'm not getting ahead because the immigrants are here in the United States. We heard all of that grievance last night from that fight in Dearborn, Michigan. When Jake Lang went to Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, and had a conniption fit in front of a board saying, I don't want you Muslims here. The aggrieved white male, which is what Donald Trump represents. Banks extend credit to you. Institutions bend to your will. Your failures are forgiven. This is what happens when you're a white male like Donald Trump. Society assumes you're smart, competent, that DEI is something against you, even when there is no barriers to what you do. Trump's entire life is a story of someone who has enjoyed the benefits of a system designed to cushion him from his own shortcomings. It's not about me having hatred for him. It's about acknowledging the structural advantages that he has. And that's where we are, where we feel as though a segment of this United States population feels as though they don't have structural advantages over the other when they do. And those structural advantages have carried them through. Most Americans have to earn their way through life. People like Trump start at the finish line. That's why it's so fucking jarring and frankly infuriating when someone like Trump and his background claims he's being discriminated against and therefore decides that he's going to dismantle and topple all kinds of programs that help people that are less fortunate than him. Programs for women, DEI, affirmative action, demonizing immigrants. All of these things and people DEI, these programs were created to correct centuries of intentional exclusion from this country was made for white men. And then somewhere along the way, Donald Trump tapped into where white men felt like, oh no, I'm being discriminated against. So now I have to demonize every person that's not. So every program that Donald Trump has put forward has been to take every other person that's not a white male backwards. Okay? The idea that a billionaire born into privilege is somehow being held back by policies meant to give marginalized groups a fair shot is fucking wild to me. Like an inversion of reality. This is what we have been living through with Donald Trump. And he has gone to the tipping point today. The tipping point has been this week. We are sick of it. We are sick of it. Miss Piggy, how dare you do that to someone who has freedom of the press, who has freedom of expression, who has the right to ask you about your job. She's asking you about your job that she voted for you to be in. And you get upset with her because she asks you about your job and you call her Miss Piggy. Then when we have senators who are just informing their constituents that they have to follow the law, be lawful in their orders, you accuse them of sedition and they should be hanged and quartered or whatever. It feels like a complete inversion of reality. A person who has benefited from every advantage, claiming victimhood against other people at the mere idea of leveling the playing field. Now white men are considering themselves victims when we try to level the playing field. It's just like a person standing on a balcony arguing that the people in the street are taking something away from them simply because they finally got access to the fucking sidewalk. Stop it. This grievance narrative, this victimhood. People keep saying all of us black and brown people feel like victims. No, it's the white males in this country, the Donald Trumps in this country that feel like they're the victims, which is wild to me. When powerful people tell followers and goofies that equality is oppression, it creates a culture where progress is seen as a threat. And this is what we have been seeing since this president became president. The resentment that Trump has expressed gets absorbed by millions of goofies who feel left behind economically or culturally or whatever the fuck. And then they start blaming the black and brown people. No, you shouldn't have DEI. DEI discriminates against me. I'm a white male, so I'm getting discriminated against. This is a warped dynamic where the most privileged people portray themselves as victims. Because you can't tell me that's not. This is exactly what the reason is. This is exactly why we have this problem in this country today. This is exactly why we have people going along with the bullshit that Donald Trump is pulling. Donald Trump went too far. He has gone too far. It is time to stop him, reel him in. 25th Amendment, impeachment, whatever needs to be done. Okay. How do you have privilege and call yourself a victim? And those with the least are told they're the ones who are oppressing you. This is fucked up, goofy logic, rooted in fear. This is wild. This is wild. Hold on.
I've been thinking a lot about America's profound demographic changes. Right now, in 2025, there are 4 states in which Native Americans are the biggest minority group. Those states are Alaska, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. There are also a great number of states where Black Americans are the largest minority group, and those states are primarily on the East Coast and in the American South. There are many, many states where the Hispanic / Latino, Latina, Latinx, Latina population is the biggest minority group. And there are already a couple of states where whites are the biggest minority group, including California, which is an especially large state, and New Mexico. Hawaii has never had a white majority population since it became a state. However, when you look at the plurality, not just the majority and minority categorizations, but the plurality, there are actually several states, including other big ones like Texas, where if you look at all minority populations together, they are so-called majority minority states. And there are quite a few, primarily in the Southwest, also in other parts of the country as well. This just foretells a much larger demographic shift that is happening in the country. By 2050, about 47% of the population in America is projected to be white across the whole country. I think what this really tells us is just a couple of things. One is, it's really important that we figure out how to get along. The diversity is here to stay. And also, the constitutional protections and other legal protections that have been developed over the years that are designed to protect minorities are really critical, because everyone in America is going to have a minority experience eventually. And
that's the problem. This is where we're at. You have people who are aggrieved and they can understand this country is going to be mixed at some particular point. Yes, you're going to be replaced, white man from town. It just is what it is. The Mexicans are breeding, having children at rates way that far outpace white people. It would be a different story if the whole country wanted to get along with what Donald Trump was doing, but the whole country does not want to get along with what Donald Trump is doing. It would be a different story if they wanted to, but they don't. They don't want to get along with what he's saying. So this is the problem. And this is why you cannot stop the inevitable flow of people, and you're going to be into a minority.
the efforts right now to attack protections for minorities are both unfounded and cruel to those who are minorities, and also just profoundly unwise, because everyone will be in that circumstance eventually, regardless of who's in control, Democrats, Republicans, or somebody else. Thank you.
It's the same thing that we've been going through for a while, like not just black people, but black people in general. It's just now instead to the word blue, the pig is a word. It isn't an attack directly to criminals, it's an attack to families and people that work outside. Without the community, we won't be able to do anything. And them showing support helps us and helps other students see that it's okay to speak out and try to help their families as well, even though they might not feel safe themselves.
What has been happening in Durham with ICE and Border Patrol is terrorizing and instilling fear in our communities. The national level is really poking to see how we're going to respond, and we have to respond with solidarity and courage in the face of fear. Although they may not have the numbers, what it's doing is systematically making it violent for people to show up to the hospital. People are afraid to go visit their families, their newborns. So I want other places to really see that it could be you next, because we saw it happen in Charlotte and it just gets closer. We have a very loved grocery store called the Superior. There is ICE presence there, and within a few minutes it was completely empty and it's closed even today. So we're seeing people's favorite spots that feel like home for me that are being closed. When I saw Duke sent a mass email to its workers saying that they're aware that there's ICE presence, Border Patrol presence, it essentially was saying that, make sure that HIPAA is a priority, patient privacy.
That's amazing. This is how we see MAGA. Okay, the whole point is you're circling the bowl. You're just circling the bowl. Donald Trump turned personal grievance into a political weapon. White personal grievance into a political weapon. He just did, right? It's a sad thing that he did that. He stirred up race in this country. Donald Trump stirred the race in this country. The minute he started talking about Barack Obama is the minute that he started race in this country. He turned that personal grievance into a political weapon by telling white Americans, specifically white male Americans, that any progress from others for others was something that would be used against him. He's the one who framed black people, immigrants, and marginalized groups, other groups, as being non-American, but as competitors who were taking jobs, safety, status. Charlie Kirk was doing the same thing. The same thing. His rhetoric painted diversity as danger, equality as a theft, inclusion as a threat to that traditional white male hierarchy. Because it was always, they're coming to replace you. They're taking your jobs. They're taking your health care. They're doing all this kind of thing. You know why we don't have health care in this country? Because white people don't want black people to have health care. All this shit wasn't accidental. Donald Trump didn't do this shit accidental. It was a calculated strategy to harness the white fear, resentment, and nostalgia for a past where white male power went unquestioned and unchecked. And they saw it slipping away, and they still see it slipping away. The problem is, it's too late to turn that clock back. Okay? It's too late to turn that clock back. You all hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, please and thank you. Please and thank you. We have this content every day, once during the day and once in the evening. Okay? Sure, it's all fake. Everything is fake. Everything is fake. But you know it's not fake. You know it's not fake. How many times did Donald Trump got to hit somebody's face against the wall before you guys get it? How many times does he got to get exposed with it? See, I really want the Epstein files to come out, because we really need to drown. Really need to drown the Epstein in the bathtub. We really need to drown that in the bathtub. We need to expose everything that's in every person that's in the file. We need to expose. Specifically, if your president is in there, we need that exposed. Okay? Because we're sick of that. But see, we understand that your president is corrupt. We understand that. We understand that he's going to try to hide it. We understand all of that. But we're not going to allow him to hide it. Because what did he do? Now he's lashing out vindictively, horribly, against regular American everyday citizens. Horribly. He's lashing out, calling people Miss Piggy, calling for sedition. This is wild. And he thought Black progress was a threat. Okay? He's got more experience than the entire stupid Democrat. And you're dumb. You're a zombie, Patchy. Stop talking. Zombies don't make sense. Against immigrants, he used fear and dehumanization as political tools. He still does that. Portrayed the Latin people and Middle Eastern people like Jake Lang did in that video, those videos that we saw yesterday, as criminals, invaders, contagious threats. You guys are breeding more than me. You're invading our country. We need to stop this. Hey, ICE, come to Michigan. ICE, come to Dearborn. What kind of shit is that? What kind of shit is that we are seeing in real time? The white aggrieved male calling for ICE to come and get rid of Muslims. Calling immigrants animals, rapists, poisoning the blood of our country. Donald Trump, he put that fear in you white men. He put the fear in you white men. He made many white men feel like they were under siege and had to fight back against people who simply wanted safety and opportunity. That's it. How in the hell did he flip the script and make it seem as though the white men were victims? The white male victims, and then they come over here and they say, oh, you black people act like you're victims. No, you white people, you white men act like you're victims. White men fight back against people who simply wanted safety and opportunity. I don't even understand the policy of him separating families, getting Muslim bans, militarized borders, sold all of y'all on this kind of protection bullshit. Allowing people to support cruelty while believing that they're defending America. Supporting cruelty while calling themselves defending America. And with black people, he used that coded language. Hey, Ty. Hey, hey, Poppy. Law and order. Rhetoric to stroke resentment. That 13 50 percentage thing to keep going around. I swear to God, all you white boys can all y'all can name that. Everybody can hear that. He framed black activism as chaos. BLM. Antifa. If Antifa is black, I don't know. Black poverty is personal failure. And it's amazing to me, this one little fact. White people have had 400 years to pull their shit together, and we still caught y'all. Us black folks still caught up to you. Still caught up to you. Except you all like to put your hand out and push us back instead of letting us pass, even though we can surpass you in that particular way. By attacking DEI, affirmative action, BLM, cities with black populations, Trump encouraged white men, white aggrieved people to see black political power as a threat to their own identity. I get it. I do. He positioned himself as the last line of defense against a supposed unfair system that favored minorities. Oh my God, the white man is the victim. He's the victim now. Black people ain't the victims no more. It's the white dude that's the victim. This is why our country is in the disarray that it is now. This is why you have allowed a president to call a reporter Miss Piggy. You have allowed a president to call for sedition. You have allowed a president to hide a pedophile right in front of our faces because he has tapped into a very carnal feeling within you that you allow him to do this. We are past the point. We are past the point. It is time to walk him back to his cage. It is time to walk him back. Either the 25th Amendment needs to come out or he needs to be impeached. And I guarantee you, if the Democrats win the House and the Senate next year, he will be impeached. Okay? He will be impeached. Okay? He positioned himself as the guy that you could depend on, who was a law and order president. This narrative gave him permission to be hostile, to racially profile. He has the Supreme Court under his belt. It fueled a wave of bold, very bold and aggressive behavior. We don't even know who's behind those damn masks that ICE is wearing. They could be Proud Boys. They could be supremacists. They can be any number of things. We know damn for sure that they ain't BLM. Okay? Yeah, we got everything, Patchy Ground. You're goofy and a zombie if you think we don't have more than just impeachment. He deserves to be impeached. No president should do that to a reporter. No president should call for the sedition of a president of sitting senators. No president should be hiding pedophile files. This president has echoed and legitimized people's dark impulses. He didn't just tap into your resentment of being left behind a victimized white person. He amplified it. He normalized it, and he weaponized it for political gain. And you guys find it okay for him to do these things. Okay. This week, the spotlight is firmly on this president. He entertained a murderous dictator, a Saudi Arabian murderous dictator, like he was their friend. He sells, pardons. He sells pardons. S-E-L-L. He sells pardons. That alone is an impeachable offense. That alone is an impeachable offense. And MAGA doesn't get it. You don't get it. We don't have just one thing. This president has went over the edge. He has went beyond the pale. He has called for the death of sitting congressmen and senators. He has gone too far. And you guys, this is why I don't care for the Republicans, because you don't stand for anything. This is your leader of your party, and you cannot even check him. You cannot even check your own leader when he does the wrong thing. We, as people who are not in his party, should not be checking him. You, as him as the leader of your party, you need to be checking him. Every time we turn around, this president has a fresh fucking controversy going on in the United States. That social media post, that provocative social media post suggesting that Democratic lawmakers were guilty of sedition punishable by death is impeachable. That is impeachable. Okay. And then the goofy Caroline, press secretary, set her goofy ass up there and tried to defend what the hell is indefensible. Indefensible. Okay. Oh, okay. Look. That alone. Here, what is this simple? What is this craziness right here? What am I looking at? What is she doing? She quit? Hold on. Marjorie Taylor Greene quit?
Posted on her X account. The announcement, she's resigning next month. Her last day, she says, January 5th.
I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026. And I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all.
Let's hope that she don't try to run for senator in the state of Georgia. She's going to lose because that little white boy is going to slam you into the ground, girlfriend, because they're not going to let you beat the little white boy. And the little white boy is going to beat you in a landslide. So let's hope you're not quitting. See, her problem is Donald Trump told her, I would not be supporting you for the senator position. She said she wanted to go and be a senator. Donald Trump told her, you don't have the balls and you're 12 points underwater behind. She's going to run for governor of that piece. She going to run for governor of Georgia? Okay. Let's see what she going to run for. Maybe not. You got that one guy that's in there, but neither way it going, she's in the dustbin of history. She's in the dustbin of history because she burnt her bridges with a lot of people. Okay, she burnt her bridges with a lot of people, so it is what it is.
And may God bless America.
Back with us now, David Axelrod and Shermichael Singleton. Shermichael, to you first as the Republican in the conversation. President Trump recently said he wanted her primaried. She recently said he was wrong. She stood up to him on the Epstein files and she won. What do we make of this?
I mean, I'm a bit surprised. I mean, Thomas Massie is also up for re-election, and he's been able to, in a very unique way, pivot despite the president's attacks. I was actually just talking to a friend who's very close to the congressman a couple of days ago, and he was telling me that the congressman has actually seen his fundraising numbers increase by focusing on H-1B visas and focusing on prioritizing workforce.
The whole point is that MAGA is in a spiral. It's in a spiral, and your fraction or whatever is already splintering because the thing is, Donald Trump blew y'all spot up. Basically, Donald Trump blew you all spot up. Okay? He blew the Republican spot up because he allowed MAGA to hate gays, Jews, trans, browns, black. He allowed all of that into the party. And when Nick Fuentes said, oh, I believe in all of that, plus I can't stand, I like Hitler, plus I like Yahtzees. Once you allow all of that other stuff in, you need to allow Nick Fuentes in because he was the same as y'all, except he went a little bit further. Okay? Nick Fuentes is the same as MAGA, except he just a little bit further. And when Donald Trump got into the equation, now they trying to kick Nick Fuentes out, or they trying to make it seem as though Nick Fuentes ain't MAGA. Nick Fuentes is MAGA. He just went a little further than the rest of y'all MAGAs. And now a lot of y'all MAGAs is balking at that Yahtzee stuff. It's too bad. Once you open up the door to all that hate, which is what I kept saying from the beginning, that's all you Republican, that's all you MAGA people do is hate, hate, hate. You don't stand for anything. You hate the gays, the trans, the browns, the blacks, the Yahtzees, the Nazis, the Jews. You hate everything, but you don't stand for nothing. Okay? That's the problem. Nick Fuentes took advantage of that. Now he really can't stand y'all, but now he's there. Now he's there, right? Now this is the party. The party is imploding. That's why we keep telling you that the MAGA party is going to be done, because you guys are going to splinter off. You're going to have to take, unfortunately for you, Patchy Ground, you live in a fantasy, okay? You just live in a fantasy. Nobody's taking a Republican seriously. Nobody. Not after Donald Trump. Not after Donald Trump. Specifically, if they don't do anything for Donald Trump, if they don't stop Donald Trump, if the Republicans don't stop Donald Trump, you guys won't see the White House until 2030. If you guys don't stop Donald Trump, you won't see the White House until 2030. Maybe not even then. That's the problem. You guys don't want to stop Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has went too far. This is where we're at. Okay? This is where we're at. The whole country is turning. There's only a small patch of y'all, goofy, patchy ground. It's only a small patch of y'all. It's only a small patch of you MAGA. The rest of the country is turning against you. Why the hell we tell y'all that's what's happening and y'all look at us like we talking crazy? Okay? I'm saying that's the first time they're going to ever be able to get a majority vote is in 2030 because of the actions of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has splintered this party. Okay? He has splintered this party. He has done unacceptable things to his party, to the American people. There's just a list. It's an overall list. It's just wild. You've undermined women. You've undermined Latinos. You've given away the H-1B visas. You've burnt up the Cubans. You've turned off the black folks. You turned off half the white folks. You've turned person like Nick Fuentes into the face of MAGA. And then Patchy Brown is sitting there mad at me. Why are you mad at me? Be mad at your president. Your president did this to you all. Your president did this to you all. Please hit the like and the share and the subscribe button. We have this content every night. We're discussing the things that Trump did this week. Trump alienated women even further this week by undermining the degrees that are professional. Now they're not professional anymore, primarily nursing degrees. He undermined those through the Department of Education. He called a female reporter Miss Piggy. He called for the sedition and the death of senators and congressmen today. The gerrymandering map got overturned today. So the Republicans will be back on their cheating next week, but it makes no difference. Why? Because the Democrats have a generic 14-point lead in the polls right now. So I will shave 8 points off of that generic lead that the Democrats have in the polls right now. And that still means that the Democrats are whooping ass and taking names, and we got shit for a party. We got shit for a party. We don't have a leader. We don't have a message, and we're still beating the Republicans. Why? Because you have Donald Trump at the head, and Donald Trump has destroyed you all's party. And only the MAGA goofies don't know it yet. Don't know it yet. We only have one more year, Timothy. We only have one more year for the midterms. We only have one more year. Look at any poll out there, poster, you name it. Any poll out there. Your president wrecked the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is sad to say that they allowed him to do that. They allowed Trump to do that to their party. Okay? And that has nothing to do with the Republicans. Republicans had nothing to do with this part, the Republican Party. Do you know the response? Did you see the response of Mike Johnson when the Senate passed the Epstein files without any kind of correction, any kind of amendments? Did you see him lose his shit? Because they did not expect that the Republican senators would allow the bill to go through. The Republican senators are getting tired of this president. And this president has destroyed this Republican Party. Okay? That's the no, Patchy Ground. I keep telling you that gaslighting shit doesn't work over here. We see the truth. We don't see what Donald Trump puts in front of your goofy eyes. We see the truth. Patchy Ground keeps talking as though we're going to believe what she's saying. He's saying, she's saying. You're the only goofy one over here that don't understand what I'm saying. You keep saying, no, Mr. President, you have an amazing rating. Donald Trump's rating in the polls is a 38%. That's catastrophic. It's catastrophic. And yet and still, he says he's winning. If he's winning, why does he have an approval rating of 38%? Okay. You pull up any stat that says what his rating is. Pull up any stat. I'm more than willing to look at it, Patchy Ground. If you can beat any stat that Donald Trump, good for you, Rainy Girl. Hey, your leader has a 70% IQ, so I'm assuming yours is lower than that. Obviously, you would vote for him. 80%. Then maybe yours is 80%. Yeah, Rainy Girl. Like I said, the IQ the IQ is wild. Yeah, sure. No, I want them to come up with this stat. Oh, and by the way, while we're here, I need you guys to come up with what the beautiful bill did for you MAGAs. What did the big beautiful bill do for the regular average everyday person making between 30 and 150K? I need to know that. So this is where we are with the 25th Amendment. Now, we're looking at 25th Amendment. What is the 25th Amendment? 25th Amendment deals with presidential disability. When the president cannot do the job due to his incapacitation, medical, physical, mental. The 25th Amendment has 4 sections. Sarah Burns, please don't talk about IQ when your president, his IQ is a 70. Please don't talk about IQ. Don't do that. Okay. Please don't do that. So the 25th Amendment has 4 sections, but the one people usually mention and talk about is Section 4, right? Section 4 is the incapacity clause. That's clause number 4. Okay, and it works primarily. It works like this, right? Okay, 2 people agree that the president is unable to serve our country, right? The vice president has to be one of those people that agrees, and the majority of the cabinet, it at least has to be 8 or 9 people out of the 15 department heads have to agree that the president cannot perform his duties. That's Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Okay. 2 people have to agree, the vice president and the majority of the cabinet. The only way this president is going to be removed is if we apply pressure. If people continue to apply pressure to their senators and their congressmen that this president has to go, that it is unacceptable. It is unacceptable what this president is doing. Okay? This is the only way it will be allowed for us to get rid of, or this president, it will be where they will pull out the Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Okay? That's the only way it would happen. They must sign a written declaration saying the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office. If this happens, J.D. Vance would become acting president immediately. And then step number 2, the president can say, I am able to perform my duty. See, what's more than likely going to happen is the Democrats are going to take the House. The Democrats are going to take the House in like a 30 or 40 point slide. Then they're going to bump up their position in the Senate to maybe, they're probably going to have 49 to 51. The 51 senators that are Republican and 49 that are Democrat. And then they're going to have the House. And then there are going to be investigations. There's going to be trials. There's going to be people going to prison. Because let's make no mistake. Let's not make a mistake. There are going to be people who are going to prison in this administration. Let's be clear. There's going to be people that are going to go to prison within this administration. And a couple of people in this administration know that.
The midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. We lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. We lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Why? The tipping point is today. The tipping point would have been this week. All of the things that this president has done this week. See, here's the thing. I would love to have a conversation about everything else going on in the world. We would love to have a conversation about other things that are going on in the world. Here's the context. Hold on. Let's finish. Hold on. Finish.
Lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to stop. They're getting more and more and more radical. And we have to counter that. And what do we have to counter it with? We have to counter it with more action, more intense action, more urgency. We're burning daylight. If you look across every aspect of this, we have to codify what President Trump has done by executive order, right?
See, that's the problem. The president, that was his problem from the beginning. You understand why this president was using EOs to run the country, executive orders to run the country, because he knew any agenda that he put forward, no one was going to go along with it. That's why he was ruling the country with EOs. Okay? That's why. Simple. Okay? And so this is where we're at. Using this president, using EOs, half of his established. Oh, and on top of that, we didn't say anything about that Kristi Noem getting rich off the taxpayers' dollars by buying $100,000 jets and lining the pockets of firms and contractors that she's related to. This is wild. This is wild, and this is where we're at. We're at the point where we have to we're at the point where we have to depend on the Republicans to do the right thing. But we understand that the Republicans won't do the right thing because the Republicans don't know how to lead and they don't know how to govern. They never have. And so we have to depend on this 2026 election and realignment. Okay? Because they won't do anything. And this president is going to continue to do and say the thing. This president has done and said so many nasty things that it's almost immaterial what he does now, because we have no there's no pushback against his party. His party is weak. He has made the party weak. The party is weak, and the party was weak when he got into office. Okay? And there's nothing that we can do about it until 2026 because we have weak Republicans in progress in the Congress. Okay, so with using the 2025, maybe if the Republicans get a backbone. Okay. 3, Bannon ain't no ladies man. That douchebag ain't no. Congress gets involved. If the VIP, the vice president, and majority of cabinet say the president is unable to lead, then Congress can vote. You need 2/3 in the House to keep the president out of power. You need 2/3 in the Senate in order to say he's unable, he's unfit to lead. To lead, and that would be damn near impossible without the benefit of Republicans. And the Republicans don't want to lead, and they don't want to govern. So it'd be impossible to use the 25th Amendment. Okay, so that won't happen. So Section 4 is almost never used. Can almost never be used. It's nearly impossible to use in real life. Okay, because it only takes one person to say no, and then that's it. Yeah, the Republicans are the majority, and they don't know how to govern, and they don't know how to lead. Okay? We don't need to know. See, that's the problem with you saying, man, we are beyond this petty shit that you're talking about. We are beyond this, what is a woman? We're beyond that. Your president is incompetent. Your president needs to be impeached. Your president is a known associate of a pedo. Okay? We are beyond what is a woman. We are beyond that. The Republicans have never known how to lead. They've never known how to lead. The government has only flourished under the direction of Democrats. It's always only flourished under the leadership of Democrats. When it comes to setting the country back, the Republicans always set the country back. And the Democrats have to come in and set the country forward. It always happens like that. Read your history. He's not leading anything. He's leading us down the wrong path. If you think, Patchy Ground, that calling a reporter Miss Piggy, entertaining a murderous dictator, Saudi Arabian prince, if you think calling somebody a communist, if you think calling for the sedition of of senators and congressmen is leading, then you're goofier than what I thought. You're wild. And you're a zombie. And this is our problem, people. We have zombies who don't get what we're saying to them. They don't get what we're saying. So hopefully the Republicans come to their senses, or we're going to have to wait till 2026 and we're just going to have to overthrow them in the election. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep calling. We're going to keep protesting. We're going to do the No King rallies, because in 2026, we have to get rid of this president. We have to make sure that this president is a lame duck president. It just is what it is. Because we can't depend on the Republicans, because they're useless when it comes to governing. Okay? They're useless when because they're not governed. Okay? Here's the problem, Corey B. We're not talking about illegal immigrants. Stop talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about a president. I just ran off 5 things the president did this. 5 things the president did this week that should be impeachable. And you goofy toasters are talking about illegal immigrants. I just ran off 5 things that this president did that should be impeachable. And you goofies are talking about what is a woman. You see the imbecilic shit that we're dealing with here. Not one of them can address the fact that their president did 5 damn things this week that should have impeached him. And they're talking about, can you name a woman? Can you tell us about the illegal immigrant? What the hell? What the hell? Patsy Brown, why don't you address those 5 things I just mentioned that would make your president impeachable? Because you goofy ass would be calling for the impeachment of Biden immediately. Wow. Calling someone piggy is an impeachable offense? No, dumb toaster. Everything put together is an impeachable offense. You dumb toaster. Wow. Yes, I am funny. I'm immediately funny. Because you're too slow to catch what I'm saying. When people are too slow to catch what I'm saying, I have to continue to say it. And I hate to continue to say it. That Miss Piggy went around the world. This man, this president, entertained a murderous dictator, and he knows that he's a murderous dictator. And Donald Trump knows that's what he is. Donald Trump cowered under that man. That's wild. So this is where we are. We cannot depend on the Republicans to do anything because they don't want to govern. They don't. They want power and they want money, but they don't want to actually govern and help the United States people. They don't want to put America first. So we have to rely on ourselves come 2026. So when the election comes in 2026, we just have to get rid of the Republicans. They cannot be in charge because they cannot lead. Because they don't know how to govern. They don't want to govern. They want just power. Okay. They just want power. They don't want to lead or do anything for the United States. Why would anybody with any comprehension get rid of the Department of Education? Instead of getting rid of the Department of Education, they could have improved it, made it better, streamlined it. No, no, no. These goofies, these incompetent people that are in charge, started getting rid of things that they needed to keep. We have an incompetent Department of Defense. No, it's not the Department of War. It's still the Department of Defense. It has to take it's an act of Congress that can change that. So Goofy has tried to do it with executive order. And since he has a 70% IQ rate, I guess he assumed it would work. So it is what it is. Trump is not doing anything. He's not helping the American people. Otherwise, we would not be in the situation we are, where a sitting president, is calling people Miss Piggies. He's entertaining murderous dictators in the White House. He's knocking down the White House. He's in the Epstein files as maybe a co-conspirator, as a pedo, and he's calling for the hanging and sedition of senators and congressmen. We would not be in a position if this person was competent. And you, patchy ground, goofy toaster, why would I leave his administration alone? Why would we want the world to see how off and goofy and incompetent this president is? Every day, he shows us that he doesn't deserve the job. Every day. Okay? Every day. Every day. Because all of the things that I have mentioned in this presentation the president did this week. He did all of this week. It's wild. How do you every day come up with something else that is even more scandalous than what you did the first time? You all please hit the like and the share and the subscribe button. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. We have this content every day. We have some in the afternoon. We have some in the evening. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Hit with a like. Get him out. We can only hope. We can only pray. This should have been the tipping point to calling for the execution of our senators and congresswomen. This should have been the tipping point for the Republicans. It should have been the tipping point. They have no pushback whatsoever for that. Here's the thing. The Epstein files have video and audio in them. The Epstein files have video and audio. For that and that alone, here's the thing. Trump tried to scam the American public at the beginning when these files first came out. He tried to have a sit-down meeting with some, third-rate content creators and Pam Bondi and some white bounders and tried to scam the American public and say, "Oh, there ain't nothing in these files. Ain't nothing. Let me be transparent with what was in these files." He tried to scam the American public and say there wasn't anything in the files. Let me invite all of these content creators in here, and then we will get them to believe everything, and then they will put it out into the public. And then that wasn't good enough because there wasn't anything in those files except stuff we had already heard, we had already seen, and redacted stuff. This is what was in those binders. And then he tried to get Miss Bondi to cover up by saying, "Oh, there ain't no files, ain't no files to be found." Y'all, has anybody seen Bon Jovi? Has anybody seen Bon Jovi? We haven't heard from him, and he made a big fuss about these files. That's the problem, Alpha Specs. We didn't care about the Epstein files like your boss did, like your goofy boss did. Your goofy boss campaigned on being transparent about the Epstein files. Don't try to throw it back on us. It's all on y'all. Y'all had your boss say he was going to be transparent with the file. Don't worry about what the fuck Biden did. Yeah, he is your boss. He's your daddy, Alpha. He's your daddy, you dumb toaster. He's definitely your daddy, you cartoon toaster. He's the one who ran on the files. He's the one who ran on saying, "I'll be transparent when it comes to the Epstein files. Don't worry about why Biden didn't release them. That wasn't Biden's priority." Okay? You don't even know how to spell. Shut your ass up, Alpha Spec. Go eat some grass. No, don't worry about Biden. Biden ain't got nothing to do with these Epstein files. Your man is a co-conspirator at the least, or he partook of the situation at the worst. And I believe he partook of the situation. I believe he's neck deep in him. He's deep up in him. Okay? Because he knows what he had to do and say in the files is something really, really bad. I'm saying, for somebody who, Lady Freedoms, y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button, please, and thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. For somebody who supposedly is not in the files, He sure as hell acting like somebody with something to hide. I heard you, Lady Freedom. I heard you. He show it. All these people be whining about he ain't in the files, but he sure as hell acting like he in the files. Trump don't give a damn about nobody else. He ain't hiding nothing for nobody else. He hiding something from his own self. He in them files deep as hell. Okay. He's in them files deep as hell. And soon as that, I don't know how we gonna get him to come out. We don't know how we gonna get him. But see, the thing is, he can redact all he want to. We gonna get people who know about the files. We gonna get people who read the files. We gonna get people to say exactly what was in the files. Because now, if you would have just released them, it could have been all over with, and you could have been out the door. But you didn't want to do that. You wanted to hide. You wanted to pretend like we was crazy. See, this is when somebody try to make it seem as though you're crazy. No, you crazy. No, we're going to gaslight you. No, we're going to gaslight the American public. We're going to gaslight the Americans. Yes, he did. Famous F-79. And why didn't he? We didn't need to release them because we didn't care. We didn't care that they were under investigation. They've been under investigation. So we just let them stay under investigation. And besides, Biden had other fish to fry. Biden had 9.7% inflation rate to get down. Biden had other things on his plate. He wasn't worried about the Trump file. He wasn't worried about the Epstein file. Your boss, your buddy is the one who said he wanted those files released. Your buddy is the one who said he was running on transparency. Don't pull Biden into this shit. Biden ain't got nothing to do with it. Trump is hiding plenty. There's plenty in there to hide. And he knows it. I believe he did the same things that Jeffrey Dahmer. No, I believe he did the same thing as Epstein, except he wasn't as vicious. I believe he did the same thing as Epstein, except he wasn't as vicious with it. That's all. He wasn't as vicious. Same thing. So we gonna find out soon enough. He gonna try to hide it. He gonna try to obfuscate, and he gonna do all that. So they just mad at me. So we cannot get him out by using the 25th Amendment. 25th Amendment, the VIP, the JD Vance has got to be on board, and 8 out of the 15 cabinet members got to be on board. That's the only way we can get him out in the 25th Amendment. So that leaves impeachment, right? Politically, the 25th Amendment is almost impossible. It's possible, but only under the very special circumstances that the amendment was designed for. Short answer is JD Vance would have to be a traitor. Okay? JD Vance would have to be a traitor. So we know that we won't be able to do the 25th Amendment thing. So what is the impeachment? Okay? That's the final thing that we possibly could do. Okay? Impeachment is a formal accusation against the president. The president has committed so many damn things that would lead them to an impeachment. I can't even comprehend. I can't even figure it out. Think of it as a person being charged with a crime, but in politics. Not the court system, okay? Impeachment does not automatically remove a president. It is simply the first half of the process. We can keep circling the impeachment thing. The United. See here it is. You're goofy. See, I gotta keep saying goofy because I'm really ignorant like that, and I would be saying other stuff. So I'm just gonna keep saying goofy. Okay, Sergio, goofy. They impeached Donald Trump twice before, goofy. Why do you keep thinking like it's an impossibility that they would impeach him again, goofy? They don't have no problem impeaching him. And you just might get those those Republicans on board, specifically if we win a majority in the Senate. Yeah. How am I ignorant, goofy, when they impeach, when you just admitted what I just said? Just dumb. They impeached him twice. Good luck. Good luck. I don't have to do anything other than impeach him. You sound wild. Y'all sound wild as hell. He was impeached. Ain't nothing weird about that. He was impeached. It was your Republicans who don't stand on nothing that couldn't follow through. That's all. That's wild. And he goes down in history as the trashy, pathetic president that he is, because he should have went down that time. But see, here's the thing. He's going to be a lame duck president. From here on out, he's a lame duck president. It is what it is. Yeah, I'm brainwashed. Of course I am. And you're the maggots in the chat following a man who has a 70 IQ. What does it say when when you have goofies who follow a clown down a rabbit hole? What does that say about the goofies who follow a clown down a rabbit hole? Wow. Goofy goofies. Yes. Didn't you hear that? Trump was accused of raping. Yes, we heard about that, Lady Freedom. Yeah, but the MAGAs don't hear nothing. They only put their arms out in front of them and close their eyes and open their mouth. That's what zombies do. Okay, so there's two stages to an impeachment. The impeachment, which is done in the House, and the trial and removal, which is done in the Senate. Okay. And he's been impeached twice. Okay. Open an investigation. There's plenty of investigation to be done. Okay. There's plenty of investigation. There's plenty of evidence that there's impeachable offenses. Calling for the death of congressmen and senators alone would be an impeachable offense. But it is what it is. Then they have to write the articles of impeachment. Then they have to vote on the articles of impeachment. And it's amazing that they got a lot of Republicans to vote for this impeachment the last time they were there. I wonder if the Republicans in the Senate, if they only needed one vote, if the Democrats only needed like 3 votes, would there be Republicans in the Senate that would vote for him to be impeached? That'd be wild. So, who runs the trial? The trial is run by the Senate. Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides if the president is the one on trial. Okay. The trial, House managers present the case, president's lawyers defend, senators act like the jury. Okay. So this is where we're at. Saying is how the Republicans don't know how to govern. They don't know how to govern a country as big and diverse and extremely difficult than the one we have. We cannot depend on them to make the right decision for the American people. The only thing they want to do is have power and fleece their pockets. Fleece our pockets. I'm sorry. Fleece our pockets. So there will be a Senate trial. God only knows if the Republicans will be on board. And the only way the Republicans would be on board is if we gave them enough evidence. If we gave them enough evidence for him to be impeached. Okay. The Senate votes for the impeachment. After the trial, the Senate votes on each charge. 2/3 of the senator, 67%, if all 100 people vote, must agree. If the vote falls short even by 1 vote, the president stays in office. And this is why I blame that piece of shit McConnell. Because we would not be here. We would not be in this predicament right now if we would not have that piece of shit McConnell in the Senate. Because he had the opportunity to get rid of Donald Trump when we impeached him the first time, and they were too scared. They were too afraid to get rid of Donald Trump the first time. This is why we have Donald Trump the second time. This is how he rose to power to demonize, to terrorize all of the Republicans. Okay? See, he doesn't terrorize or demonize. He doesn't terrorize the Democrats because we don't give a shit about them. We want them to go down. He demonizes and he runs the Republican Party. And that's why he ran the Republican Party into the ground the way he did. He ran the Republican Party into the ground. Okay? Yes, they are too serious. They're too afraid of Trump. Too afraid to do anything. Too afraid to vote against him. Too afraid to call him out on the bullshit that he's doing. When you're too afraid of your party leader runs amok. You all hit the like, share, and subscribe button. This is the content we have every day. Political content, daily events. This was a rundown of the weekly events that we had. He destroyed, or he called a woman piggy, a reporter. He entertained a murderous dictator. He called for the sedition of sitting senators and congresspeople. He attacked the Department of Education by rolling back professional degrees for women, specifically nursing, all nursing degrees that women have. Yeah, sure is, Patchy Ground, but your motherfucking ass is sitting right here, ain't you? But your motherfucking ass is right here, ain't you? Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. We have this content every day. We will, who knows what we will wake up to. Tomorrow, I'll probably be doing a deep dive on Donald Trump's True Social posts, because True Social posts, those ought to be interesting. Let's see what he writes tonight. He loves to talk in the middle of the night. Let's see what he's going to say tonight. Okay? Because he always wakes up, you always wake up, and he always has something interesting to say. Okay? Yes. He would always have something interesting to say tonight. So we'll probably go over the True Social content tomorrow. Let's hope he has something to defend himself, because he hasn't defended himself yet, unfortunately. See, when you have people who try to tell you the truth about something and you keep banging your head against the wall, I can't help you. I can't help you. If your president did good things and he was for the American people, it would be a different story. But your president is all about enriching himself. Yeah, here we go again. Patchy Ground, Fog, 2, Toaster, Dumb Toaster. Why would we be talking about Russia, and sedition if there was no... That's the whole point. If I give you 10 things that are negative, why is it that you goofies don't look at those 10 things and say, oh, maybe there might be something to it? Why do you all of you open up your mouth, close your eyes, put your arms out, and start walking like zombies away from the evidence that people give you? Why is that? I don't understand. We give you 3, 4, 5, 10 facts that says your president did some egregious behavior, and you just open up your mouth, close your eyes, hold your arms out, and walk away like a zombie. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. That's wild. Not one of you can defend your president. Defend your president. Stand up for your president. I want a good argument for your president. Now, please put in the chat what the big beautiful bill has done for any one of you guys. Sure I do, Corey. Sure I do, Corey. All weak ass fat. Sure I do, Corey. That's what I said. Another zombie. Close your eyes, put your hands out, and continue to walk while you don't open. Make sure you keep your mouth open. Make sure you keep your mouth open. Okay. I'm saying only Goofy and Zombie because Goofy and Zombie doesn't get me banned. I can say more, but I don't want to say anymore because you guys are not worthy of me saying anymore. Goofy and Zombie covers everything you all have to offer. So we go over what did we go over today? Hold on. Let me read it. The White House walks back Trump's suggestion of executing Democrats. Really? Stands by the piggy comments. Marjorie Taylor Greene quits her job in January. I wonder why she's quitting. I wonder why. She plans to run for something? Somewhere along the way, the white male in this country became the victim. Now he's the victim. Right. Okay. Now he's the victim. What else happened? Yes, you got to leave that ship at some point. But here's the thing. What happened this week? What else happened this week? Okay. DEI, got rid of DEI. We talked about that. Okay. Let's talk about this. I understand that there's cognitive decline. I get all of that. President Trump is showing some of those signs. Okay? He's reverting to his basic instincts. He's losing a little bit of the control. When you reach that age, sometimes it's hard to hold back. And I get that. Okay? When you hit 70s, 80s, 90s, the brain naturally changes. So this is where we are with President Trump. He doesn't have a filter. He's not trying to have a filter. He's not aware of a certain things that happen in his cabinet. People are putting papers in front of him and he's just signing them because he wants to look good. Okay. I was expecting a little fiery conversation out of his conversation with Madami, but we didn't see any fire from him from that conversation with Madami this afternoon. What was going on? Okay. We don't know, but we do know this president has committed a bunch of atrocities this week. We're looking forward to, it's going to take 30 days before the files will be open. So the Epstein files will not be available except for 30 days. But they are working overtime to cover up the files and what's in the files. We do know that. Because they're not going to release the files without any kind of redaction. We understand that. The women said, please release the files without redaction except with the victim names redacted. That's the only thing they want to be pulled out of the files. Okay? So it takes 30 days for the files legally for the files to be released. So if they don't plan to put them under an investigation and try to snow the American public, well, I already know they can snow you MAGAs. You MAGAs can get snowed by a blanket. If they don't try to snow the rest of us, we should be able to see those files before Christmas. And I don't think he would allow us. I don't think he would allow us to catch him naked. But see, here's the thing, y'all. Those files contain audio and video. That's the shaming part. They contain audio and video. Because Epstein bugged his house and the rooms, all of the rooms. That's how he has all of the negative stuff on Donald Trump. And this is one of the last parts that convinced me. This is one of the last parts that convinced me that Donald Trump was guilty. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell currently is in a low minimum security prison. She has a dog that she plays with every day, her dog every day that she plays with. She can access the internet. She can call who she wants. She has guests who get served dinner right along with her. She is able to do exercise, be out on the yard, all of these things without censor. Okay. She can do all of these things. She has a dog. She has visitors anytime. She can make phone calls anytime. And I get it. Someone tried to argue me up and down that if you're in prison, you can get some of these things. And I get it too. I get it. We get all of that. But these are cushy circumstances for someone who is the most prolific, a part of one of the most prolific child predators in this country that we have seen. To give this much leeway and grace to someone who is a part of hurting children. Biden had the files under investigation. King Benjamin Goofy. The files were under investigation until 2023. Biden had other fish to fry. He had to get the economy under control. Goofy. So therefore, Epstein files was not his priority. Okay? So stop throwing it back on the Bidens. Like, if it was so serious, Biden would have released them. We already explained why he didn't, Goofy. Okay? Your president is the one who, I won't say 100% campaigned on releasing the Trump files, but he implied that he would be willing to open up the the Epstein files. And once he implied that he was willing to open up the Epstein files, this what made it his problem. Goofy. What else was he doing? Goofy. We're not going to argue about that. So, yes. Walter, your president has a 70 IQ and you're following him like he's a god. What? How does a clown get other people to go down the rabbit hole with him? How does a clown lead people that are smarter than the clown? I don't understand. Shut your ass up. So this is what happened with Bubba, man named Bubba. Shut up, long bones. You ignorant. They were under investigation, savage-minded. They were under investigation. Yeah, I sound very desperate. I am so damn desperate. You Goofy, your boss. Wait a minute, hold on. Just one minute. See, because, I need to hit somebody. Wait a minute. We need to hit people in the eyeball. We need to hit people in the eyeball with the we need to hit people in the eyeball. Hold on. Cause we sometimes you just gotta hit people in the eyeball because they act like they don't understand where they are.
A
polling now post Election Day 2025. If you recall, the last time I delved into a poll with you guys, it was the NBC News poll. And it was a poll that came out before the Election Day 2025. And it's worth noting how prescient that poll was. It had Democrats with an 8-point generic ballot advantage on the generic congressional ballot. No other poll had shown anything like that. Now, pretty much every poll that's come out has shown Democrats with anywhere from a 5 to a Marist poll that shows a 14-point lead. I think that's a super outlier. But there are other polls out there that show it consistently 5, 6, 7. It shows you that 8-point number was not an outlier. There were some people who were trying to argue that was an outlier. That was not an outlier. And I think we saw there was another part of that poll that I failed to make a big deal out of that, frankly, I meant to. I'd written it down in my notes, but I didn't bring it up, and I should have. And that was sort of one of the ways the Hart McInturf, one of the regular questions that the NBC News poll has had on that poll going back I want to say we started doing this in the 08 cycle, maybe 06 cycle, is on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this election, in the next election, interest in the election. And what was remarkable in this poll here in 2025 is the number was already in the mid 50s. And this was asking about the 2026 midterms. A year out, and it was in the mid 50s. That number was in the 40s 4 years before. And it's regular. This was sort of being in the mid 50s felt like a summer of an election year number, not a fall of the year before. Well, what did that foreshadow? The massive turnout advantage that Democrats ended up showcasing on Election Day 2025. We saw in New Jersey. I continue to go back to the New Jersey example. Virginia, you can write off as a federal worker issue. New Jersey, where there was a not so popular 2-term Democratic governor being replaced, it was term limited, and the Republican nominee got more votes this time than he got 4 years ago, and he ended up losing by 13 percentage points. That is a flashing red light for the Republicans. And I will say this: so we've gotten these 2 new generics out there, Marist, and I know the Marist folks well. They are very they're very careful about what they're very transparent about their methodology, and so their numbers can be a bit more fluid. And academic pollsters in general get a little skittish about weighting based on different things. They very much want to have a more hands-off approach into some of the decision-making that they make on weights. So the Marist will fluctuate more. And that's why it's always important.
Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. Don't be mad. Just don't be mad. I don't want to hear shit.
Don't compare 2 different polls to each other. Compare a pollster trend line to themselves. And so the trend line fits the same trend line we're seeing. What Marist showed a month ago is now moved in the Democratic direction. Well, guess what? Every poll has moved in the Democratic direction. You've seen a consistent rise in Trump's disapproval rating, a consistent rise in the spread between Democrats and Republicans on the generic ballot. They're clearly
that's a new one I ain't heard. A Marxist? Look at the goofies in the chat.
Something has turned here. It looks like it's mostly economy based more than anything else, right? You may think it's about Epstein, or you may think it's about some of these other things. Ultimately, I think the great lesson that everybody should go back and take away from 2024 is that ultimately it's about prices, and it's about cost of living, and the cost of living has been skyrocketing everywhere, right? And the latest issue.
But you got goofy Trump telling the goofy MAGA people that Trump's prices are going down. He's lying to you, goofies.
Is electric bills. And the fact is, you can't, the White House is nervous. That's why they wiped away the food tariffs. That's nice that maybe they can sort of slow down the rise in grocery prices. But the rise in electric bills around the country is going to eat into whatever tariff savings he creates there. And of course, he spent his speech browbeating the Fed. And if the Fed...
Have you goofies ever wondered who told you that the media was fake? I remember exactly the first time I heard fake news from your goofy president. And he got all of y'all in the chat saying fake news. Goofy.
Lowers interest rates too quickly. And I think there's a real divide on this because they're going to
Not everything is fake news. You're just goofy.
imagine the Fed lowers interest rates and Trump sends out $2,000 checks. We're going to be in 2021 all over again. And remember what happened in 2021? That's when we had another surge of inflation that essentially ruined Biden's presidency, right? He could not get out from under that initial inflation surge where the market was flooded with easy money and lower interest rates plus a tariff rebate check would flow extra easy money in there. And I promise you, prices aren't going to go down. Just the opposite. Prices are going to go up. So he is not, this economy is not in a good situation. There's not many levers he can pull here. And yet, one thing you know about Donald Trump is he's always going to try to pull a lever. And in some ways, the more levers he tries to pull, the more he makes things worse. If you need an example of that, just look at what he did with redistricting. He has now put his party in a worse place, right? By bullying all these legislatures to do this, he's put his party now in a worse place. If this map doesn't get upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. But I want to go back through these because there was another poll that was out that I think gives you a sense of how to read some of these generic ballot numbers. The Marquette Law School poll. I'm a big fan of the Marquette poll. It's he's a steady pollster there. Charles Murray, I believe is his name. Hang on one second. Let me get that right. Charles Franklin. Charles Murray is another academic that I had in my head is Charles Franklin. Anyway, it's a very good poll, very consistent. One of the things, by the way, he does quarterly is probably the most thorough examination on the public opinion side of the public's opinions of the Supreme Court, for what it's worth. So it is a poll that I care about a lot. Well, they came out and their generic ballot among just registered voters was 49-44, the Democrats. Then he said among those certain to vote, the Democratic lead expands to 9 points. More importantly, in that poll, Trump's approval rating among independent voters is below 30%. So look, there's also already a disadvantage for Republicans when it comes to these off-year elections, as Democrats have the more regular voters. Democrats have the voters that are definitely going to show up, which is why you see those more certain to vote, the Democratic lead expands. So if you're the Republicans and you're trying to hold Congress, among registered voters, you're hoping that the number is, you don't want a separation on the generic ballot of more than 1, 2, or 3 points at this point, because among likely voters, it's going to basically, whatever the spread is among registers, it's basically going to double. And so, I think the way these congressional districts are gerrymandered,
Mr. Mayhem, you're retarded. You're a tard if you believe that.
Democrats probably have to be ahead somewhere between 6 and 7 points on the national generic ballot in order to win control of the House. Maybe if the Texas map doesn't get upheld, and let's say Virginia still gets aggressive and decides to redistrict and helps out the Democratic numbers there, maybe that number goes down to 4 or 5. But the point is, we're already in territory where the House is gone. Right? Anything north of 6 points, the Republicans have lost the House. And as you keep creeping up, then suddenly you start to see that the Senate is in play. Do you hate hangovers? Well, say goodbye to hangovers. Out of office to take a bad situation and make it worse for him on this front. And even though you have a Democratic Party that doesn't like its leadership, there's a total vacuum there. There is such enthusiasm at pushing back against Trump. There's such a belief that, hey, this stuff is working, right? The courts ruled against them in Texas. Voters got behind doing something that I didn't think was I don't think we fully appreciate how impressive the feat was with Gavin Newsom in California. You start to see where good gets better on that front. But we're still in fairness, we're still in the wake of what was, this has just been a really bad November for Trump, the Republican brand, Republicans in general. You know, is every month going to be like this between now and next November? That's unlikely, right? But it is, if this economy continues to be this uneven, and especially if we continue with this AI bubble talk, and there's a lot of conversations out there that this is looking a lot more like 1998 and 1999, which was basically the first time the internet bubble.
Y'all hit the like button coming in the door. Hit the like button coming in the door. Subscribe, share, do all those good things. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Like button.
Completely popped. You know, as I joke, will somebody please tell me which one of these AI companies is pets.com? And there is certainly that hanging over the head. And so if even that doesn't go well, then that turns people, even those that have a little bit of money, will suddenly be feeling sour about how Trump is handling this economy. This episode of the Chuck Toddcast is brought to you by Wild Grain. All the time, you have to have some sunny in you somewhere, right? You know, I think the key, we've all, you know, you heard Chris Liz and I discussed this quite a bit during the election night live stream that we did. You know, one of Mamdani's superpowers is his optimism and the constant smile on his face. So, you know, you got to project some optimism with voters. And, you know, Steyer has been in this dire sort of dark place about climate change, right? The end is coming sooner than we think. Dark about democracy. He inserted himself a bit into the referendum campaign to do the redistricting in California. It was an insertion that not many great Gavin Newsom folks appreciated. But look, you know why he got in? Because this has been, I have to say, so far, the development of the California governor's race is one of the big head scratchers to me. This is, in 1991, when all of these big-time Democrats decided that George H.W. Bush wasn't beatable in the 1992 general election, people like Dick Gephardt, Al Gore, Bill Bradley, Jay Rockefeller, Sam Nunn, all these supposed rising stars of the early 90s all decided not to run. And the people that did run were nicknamed the Seven Dwarfs. And it was Bill Clinton, it was Paul Tsongas, you had Doug Wilder in that race, you had Bob Kerrey in that race. I know I'm leaving, Tom Harkin was in that race. But collectively, that crew was, because there was no star power at the time. Bill Clinton wasn't a star then. Bill Clinton ended up sticking out as like the best political athlete on stage with a whole bunch of sort of tier 2 senators and governors who showed themselves up, and it, I think, helped catapult him to quick stardom at the time. I remember a debate, I believe it was on PBS, the first time they all appeared together, and Bill Clinton was the sort of the clear like star of this field. But in general, it was treated like the Seven Dwarfs. That's kind of how I feel about the current makeup of this California governor's race. Here's an open seat for California governor that where you get to be the governor of the 4th largest economy in the world. It is as important of a position. I think it's.
Let's get to what he says.
And, you know, in this environment, he's one of those that if he caught fire, it wouldn't shock me. And if he ended up only getting 2% come primary day, it wouldn't shock me. Katie Porter had that well-publicized meltdown when a journalist asked her a few simple questions where she couldn't handle basic questions. And then, of course, the floodgates opened, ex-Porter staffers just, you know, unloaded story after story about what a terrible boss the former congresswoman is. I do think, you know, that probably has ended her ability to become one of the top 2. And remember, this California governor's race is a top 2 situation. So everybody runs in the same ballot.
Let's see.
Is going to be met with open arms by a Republican electorate or any electorate to become governor of, I mean, yes, they embraced Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, it in some ways was as American as they come. And it wasn't a recent thing that he became an American to then jump in and run for governor on that front. So, but what I've noticed is the Democratic field is so weak that both Republican candidates with a huge undecided number have actually been the ones hovering closer to the top. You've seen different orders. Bianca will be.
You said, why would Trump run on and sign off on really? Because he couldn't do anything but sign off on the files, Corey. Wait a minute, who was it? He couldn't do anything but sign off on the files. They already had a petition to release the files, regardless of whether he wanted to do it or not. They only had to wait out the clock. He couldn't say no.
He won. Some of them, Hilton is one. Katie Porter with her name ideas too. And then everybody else is sort of below that. So the assumption is some more people are getting in. I don't consider Steyer. Of course, he's running for governor. Why would he want to run for mayor?
Okay.
To a more liberal crowd? And I think some of this we're not sure. You have Antonio Villaraigosa, who's running again. He was kind of the only, seemed like the only candidate that had a shot at making Gavin Newsom's life miserable when he ran for governor in 2018. I actually moderated a debate that featured both Villaraigosa and Gavin Newsom on there, and they were the only two sparring partners, if you will. But that was a race that never felt in doubt. It was all about whether, well, would Newsom sort of, wear out his welcome, providing an opening or not, and Newsom didn't, and he ended up running away. Swalwell could be interesting. I don't want to write him off. He could end up raising a lot of money, but sitting members of Congress have struggled in the past in governor's races in California. It's just tough because it's tough to have much name ID. In some ways, Katie Porter is benefiting from the fact that she ran for the Senate and did run statewide. She obviously didn't make the runoff against Adam Schiff, but she certainly got a little bit of that. But I still look at this and I keep thinking, there's got to be some bigger candidates that are going to jump in this race. Some, maybe some interesting outsiders that might jump in. It has been what I would say is a shockingly sleepy race that perhaps gets more interesting if Rick Caruso ends up jumping in, and then suddenly that might elevate things. But I'll tell you now, I do think the Republicans both of them have gotten enough traction where the top two is going to be a D and an R. I don't think you're going to have two Ds make it in the top two anymore. And I think there was a thought that's where we were headed. I think there's definitely going to be a D versus R situation here because of the smaller number of Republicans and the increasingly large field of Democrats. I mean, if you're going to have Swalwell in this race, Tom Steyer in this race, Katie Porter in this race, Villaraigosa, Becerra, Klubeck is a self-funder. You see where we're going here. That's up to 7 Democrats splitting that vote. You assume there's 30 to 40% of the electorate is going to show up for the Republicans. You see how very quickly that you almost guarantee that one of the two slots is going to go to the Republicans. But
right. The whole point of that whole point is that the race is wide. The race is wide open, but the window is closing for the Republicans. The window is closing for the Republicans. And we're saying Trump is going to drag your whole party down to the ground. Trump is going to drag the whole party down to the ground. And unfortunately, it is what it is, because Trump doesn't see himself as somebody that Trump doesn't see himself. Wait a minute. Hold on.
an ideal ally as head of government of Israel. Hard, of course, hard no. But this is the situation we live in. So anyway, I just wanted to, because I personally really struggle with it. I am so outraged, right, by the dismissiveness of the just killing of journalists, the disregard that Donald Trump has for journalists, the threats that he makes, the fact that his behavior echoes what an authoritarian leader like MBS behaved, and that he somehow is condoning that behavior. It would be nice if we at least paid lip service to the First Amendment, And if we had a sitting president of the United States that gave two shits about the Constitution, but unfortunately, that is not the situation we live in the moment. But we can, I think, I try to sort of I can tell you how I personally feel, and at the same time trying to explain the political reality of the situation that we are in. And when it comes to relationships with Saudi Arabia, this country has come to the bipartisan conclusion that we have to work with this dictatorship, not necessarily work to change the regime or undermine it or to ostracize it. Given that everything is always seen through the prism of we've got to have more checks on China and Russia, that's how you find yourself in bed with people that you wouldn't necessarily want to be morally or ethically connected to.
This episode of the Chuck Toddcast is brought to you by Wild Grain.
So it is what it is. We are where we are. We are with this president. We are where we are with this Saudi Arabia guy. We are where we are with all of these things that happened this week that Donald Trump put us into. We still have the Googles. We still have the Googles in the chat. It is what it is. You're never gonna change those minds. It's a switch in the brain. I've come to the conclusion it's a switch in the brain, and the maggots got the switch in the brain, and there's nothing we can say to them. So it is what it is. So the Trump did what he did this week. All of these things he did, he deserves at least the consideration for impeachment. Not maybe the 25th Amendment, but definitely the consideration for impeachment. And we look forward to the next move that the Democrats are going to do, because we know the Republicans aren't going to do anything. We know they don't do anything. They're not going to do anything because they're too afraid of the base. They're too afraid of their Yahtzee yielding, sound, bacon carrying base. So it will be what it is. You all hit the like, share, and subscribe. We have content like this twice a day, 3 times a day. Gavin Newsom, I wish, because he's fine as hell. We have content like this every day. We will be back tomorrow. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. We will be back tomorrow with more content. Let's hope the president doesn't do anything outrageous over the night, over the weekend. He usually posts on True Social. So we're going to go through the True Social and see what exactly he posted for today. Probably something outrageous. Of course it's something outrageous. Of course it is. It'll be something even more outrageous than what he did this afternoon or yesterday or any of the days he did before. Something always comes up. Something is always better than what he did the last time. So please hit the like, share, and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow. I appreciate everybody who came over. We appreciate everybody who came through. Please keep me on your board. Like, share, subscribe. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.